Hello, my name is Adalei Stevens. Today, for my final project, I will be discussing the collapse of America. So, what does that look like? What can we expect for the future? Why is it happening? But I firstly want to talk about how we're currently coping with our new reality. Self care and self soothing behaviors were the go to response to the start of the pandemic. And so now, in search of stability and a little dopamine, we treat ourselves in something that I call the treat delusion. So, what makes it a delusion? I'd like to refer to Dre Dang, an essayist, who says that sometimes a corporate check will feed the stomach in exchange for feeding the soul. So that might come in the form of a sweet treat that you get with your coffee in the morning, or if it's some painting that you sell like Jackson Pollock for an absurd amount of money, or a different vice to cope with the weight of surviving under capitalism. I don't think a treat will save us from what's to come. The American government regularly leaves its people behind in order to fund war and genocide while ignoring domestic issues like homelessness and a crumbling infrastructure, as well as issues like climate change and transportation. So we saw that in the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore on March 26th. So a shipping container struck a nearly 50-year-old bridge that had just been recently graded and was graded safely, and a shipping container struck it, and the bridge collapsed almost immediately, and 6 construction workers were killed in the incident. Baltimore's mayor is filing for negligence against the owner of the ship as it resulted in the death of 6 people. But we see accidents like this routinely happening to exploited workers across the country who come in search of opportunities. Like my friend, she lost her husband, Jorge de la Torre, and her children's father in a crane accident that happened just 6 days after the collapse of the Baltimore Bridge. He was in Fort Lauderdale, and he passed away sadly, the only one in the incident. But time and time again, we see profit being valued over safety and exploiting and killing people like Jorge who have moved away from their families in a sacrifice in order to provide. Now, it's no secret that America was founded on the exploitation of its people as well as its resources. So, success under capitalism often means that at least one person or a group of people is being used for personal gain, and that is completely unethical, but it is the values that our country was founded on. So, we saw that in the media as the Cheshire Bridge fires in 2021 and 2023 were said to be caused by people who had set fires to keep warm under the bridge in a homeless encampment. But rather than addressing who left them behind or why they felt the need to set these fires in the first place, the city sunk money into repairing that bridge, but failed to address why people had to set fires under the bridge in the first place. And you have structures like the iconic Spaghetti Junction Presidential Hotel that I'm sure you've seen if you drive down 85 at any time, just sitting there abandoned and useless when homelessness has increased nearly 5% in the last 4 years. But in 2017, when homelessness was at its ultimate low since the start of a pit or head count starting in 2007, Atlanta closed its last shelter of last resort, where as many as 1,000 people could be housed, maybe not comfortably, but sheltered and without an encampment fire. But what will we do when disasters like the Cheshire Bridge Road fire are happening on a mass scale? A group called the Climate Refugees found that Miami, Florida's most populated city, will face extreme heat waves and other climate related issues as climate change worsens. Now, these are issues that are going to be affecting people of color, people living in poverty, and in red line districts. They're going to be disproportionately affected by natural disasters like this. So, when we look at this prediction from 2016, as many as 13 million people were expected to be displaced. However, as of 2020, as much as 40% of the nation's population lives in coastal counties, equivalent to 129 million people. So by 2100, as many as 129 million people could be displaced due to rising sea levels. And at the current rate, natural disasters are expected to only worsen, leaving people vulnerable to fend for themselves as wealthy people profit off their exploitation, working for supplies that should just be readily available, like food, water, and shelter. I don't think a little band-aid, a little treat, will be the band-aid on the wounds of issues currently facing Americans. Our future is bleak if we don't make a turn for the better or if the needle of justice does not bend another way. I hope you enjoyed my lighthearted discussion about the collapse of American empire. See my references here. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer.